The Florida Gators opened the 2016 season at home against the Minutemen of UMass. Luke Del Rio joined Rex Grossman and Chris Leak as the only Gator quarterback since 1996 to complete 65% of his passes. Del Rio also tossed 2 touchdowns and had 0 interceptions. The Gators' defense was stingy, only allowing the Minutemen to convert a little more than 10% of their third downs. Florida beat UMass 24-7. The Gators faced the Kentucky Wildcats in their SEC opener. Florida's defense had 3 interceptions and held the Wildcats to less than 60 yards passing. Del Rio was on his game, throwing for 320 yards and 4 touchdowns, as Florida blew out Kentucky 45-7. The defense shined again in Florida's non-conference game against North Texas. Florida surrendered a mere 53 yards, which is the lowest it's allowed in school history. The Gators blanked North Texas 32-0, but the win would prove to be costly as they lost their starting quarterback, Luke Del Rio, to injury. Knoxville, Tennessee, home of the Volunteers, where the Gators' 11-game win streak against the Vols came to an end. It was a tale of 2 halves. Florida dominated the first half, leading 21-3, but in the second half it was all Tennessee as the Vols handed the Gators their first and only conference loss this season, 38-28.
Sometimes guys get feeling sorry for themselves, and all of a sudden that little injury that is no big deal all of a sudden becomes, look, this ain't my first rodeo. I've seen this stuff. Okay, so this is going to test a lot of guys in that locker room to see who we are and see what we're made of.
The Gators bounced back with an ugly win in Nashville over Vanderbilt, 13-6. The Missouri game saw the return of starting quarterback Luke Del Rio, who had sprained his left knee in the Gators' win over North Texas earlier in the season. Del Rio improved to 4-0 as the starter for the Gators, as the team recorded 500 total yards of offense for the second time this season. The Gators' defense can't be overlooked as the D limited Mizzou to 98 yards passing. Florida beat Missouri 40-14. Jim McElwain remained perfect against the Georgia Bulldogs as the Gators' head coach. McElwain's defense held the Dogs' offense to just 164 yards of total load, as Florida went on to beat the Dogs 20-14. The Gators then made the trip to Fayetteville, Arkansas, where they ran into a wounded, hungry, and angry bunch of hogs. The Razorbacks did a wire-to-wire number on then 10th-ranked Florida, stuffing the Gators' offense and zipping through their defense on way to their 31-10 upset victory. All the Will Muschamp talk heading into the showdown with South Carolina turned into SEC East talk. The former was a distraction the Gators refused to fall into. The latter was all that mattered. It was the home team's lone focus, and it played that way. Austin Appleby threw a pair of touchdown passes, and the Gators kicked a couple of field goals as Florida beat South Carolina 27 and got one step closer to locking up their second straight SEC East division title. In a perfect world, Florida and LSU would have played their game on its originally scheduled date of October 8th, but Hurricane Matthew forced the schools to change the date and location. Florida had to make the trip to Death Valley, and in one of the best games of the season, the Gators made a goal line stop to beat the Tigers and lock up their second straight East Division title. The Gators then wrapped up their 2016 regular season with their annual showdown with in-state rival Florida State. Dalvin Cook proved to be too much for the Gators on the ground. Plus, Florida's offensive line had no answer for Sandalwood alum DeMarcus Walker as FSU beat Florida 31-13. Then it was on to the SEC Championship game for a rematch with Alabama. The first quarter started well for the Gators, but the Crimson Tide did to Florida what they've done to opponents all season long. They turned on the juice and hammered the Gators 54-16. Florida will enter Monday's game with Iowa on a 2-game slide.